Pilot Oswaldo Sanviti flips on his loudspeaker and announces, "Everybody, look out the windows to our right. There's a strange object there, and it's watching us. It's a UFO." Aboard the plane, 52 passengers and 6 crew members went to the nearest windows and peered out. What they saw shocked them. A luminous cone-shaped object unlike anything they had ever seen before was traveling alongside the plane. Suddenly the communication went dead and the cabin lights dimmed. Over the course of the next hour, crew and passengers watched in fear and wonder as the strange object danced around their plane. It bobbed up and down and zipped over top of the aircraft from one side to the other, all while flashing a variety of brilliant lights, including red, orange, blue, and white. Occasionally it got very close, and the passengers and crew were able to make out that it had a funnel-shaped bottom. Sanviti, a veteran pilot with over 22,000 hours flying time, estimated that the object was about 230 feet in diameter at its top. After about an hour of maneuvering around the plane and other odd movements, the craft suddenly vanished with an incredible flash of speed. The cabin's lights suddenly came back to full brightness while the radio began to work again. Sanviti immediately contacted the control tower at Lima Airport and was in the process of describing what had happened when the strange craft suddenly reappeared seemingly from nowhere. And it wasn't alone. Alongside it was another craft. The two objects hovered around the plane for a few moments and then disappeared for good, with another shocking burst of supersonic speed. Sanviti landed the plane at the Lima airport soon after. The passengers, all shaken and frightened, agreed on the details of what they had seen, and that it was something strange and terrifying that they could not understand. At least 2 of the passengers had never even conceived of UFOs being a real thing. Upon leaving the plane, they confessed that they had had a change of heart on the matter. George Santamaria Calderon, dean of the School of Engineering at the University in Lima, was one of the people. "I never believed in UFOs for a moment, until this happened. But I saw this with my own eyes, and I observed this for more than an hour. And as an engineer, I can say that this object was something whose speed, size, shape, and method of flying are not known anywhere in the world. All the people on that plane saw the same thing." Elmer Nunez, another passenger and the managing editor of a newspaper in Peru, said, "I had always heard of UFOs, but I never put stock in them until this occurred. Now I am convinced. I know we were followed by a UFO, and I can tell you the whole thing scared me." When going over the case with investigators, Captain Sanviti believes that when the 2 objects returned together, they quickly flew away again because his radio message to control was intercepted. It seemed to me that they became aware I was giving a message to the control tower, and they immediately disappeared again. I think that's why the radio didn't go out the second time, because I had already alerted the tower. According to the APRO bulletin, one of the many things Sanviti said to the tower was to have photographers and cameramen on the scene ready to document the strange objects as they neared the airport. Sanviti wonders if this specific instruction was what sent the objects scurrying away. Captain Oswaldo Sanviti, age 40, was flying a DC-4 from the now defunct Peruvian airline Faucett. It was around 6 p.m., a routine flight from Piura to Lima. They were about a half hour out of Piura, just passing over the city of Chiclayo, when the pilot spotted the weird object. We were at an altitude of 7,000 feet when I suddenly saw a luminous object to the right of the plane. It was just getting dark, and the object, which shone very brightly, was shaped like an upside-down cone. It was about 8 miles from the plane and flying at the same speed and altitude in the same direction. In other words, it was keeping pace with the plane, as if it were watching us closely. As I watched, I saw it make many movements, all of them with fantastic speed. Several times it shot straight up into the air and then settled back down again. I alerted my crew and then told the passengers to look out and see the UFO. I told them I thought it was watching us. For a period of time, the object kept pace on the right side, intermittently going through up and down maneuvers, but always staying parallel with the plane. Then it suddenly came shooting toward us and passed over the top of the plane. As it did so, it flashed bright colors. As it closed in on the plane, there was a bluish light at its top and a red light in the underside. But as it climbed and passed over the plane, the blue light changed to red and the red light changed to orange. When the UFO passed over us, I saw that the bottom was shaped like a funnel. I estimated that its diameter at the broad top side was 230 feet. After passing over us, the UFO settled down to keep pace at our left, 2 miles from the plane. Captain Samvidi attempted several times to make contact with the control tower at Lima, but was not able due to the fact that his radio stopped working. The lights in the plane also had gotten very dim. I kept trying the radio but could not get any life in it at all. Back in the plane's cabin, the passengers were growing anxious. Newspaper reporter Huneeus noted, "We were passing over Chiclayo when the pilot said to us over the speaker, 'Look to the right of the plane and you will be able to see a rare object that has been watching us. It's a UFO.' My seat was on the right side. I turned my head and looked out and saw a very luminous object. It was 6:30 p.m. The object attracted everyone's attention by its light and its dizzying speed. It was leaping up and down so fast that it was hard to follow. By loudspeaker, the captain cried, 'The UFO is now coming over our plane.' After a few moments, the captain said, 'Now it is to the left of the plane.' I went to the left side and saw it again. It was close to us. It was shaped like a spinning top. It flashed orange lights on its underside. The UFO stayed there watching us for an hour. There was light in the plane, but it was quite dim. Night had fallen when the captain said, 'It is moving away from the plane.' The UFO, flashing brilliantly luminous light, shot up and disappeared with unbelievable speed." According to Huneeus, many of the passengers were quite frightened, and some of the women were near hysteria. One woman burst into loud tears, but one of the other passengers talked to her and calmed her down. The children on the plane were the ones who enjoyed it. It was just great fun to them, but I was very nervous and fearful. I tried not to show it. Nobody aboard had a camera to take pictures of the UFO. I usually have one with me, but this time I had forgotten it. I was very put out by that. After the UFO vanished, Samvidi quickly tried to contact the Lima Tower. I found the radio was working perfectly again, and the plane's lights were back to normal. I got the control tower, was just telling them we had seen a UFO, when suddenly I saw the craft coming back. Beside it was a second UFO. They hovered over our plane. They both were the same size and shape. As Samvidi relayed the situation, instructing them to get ready with the cameras, the object suddenly zipped away. Calderon, the university dean, claims that he had had the object in sight for an entire hour. It just seemed to be playing around the plane. It was cone-shaped and flashed intermittent lights. When it was flying parallel to us, it emitted white lights. When it rose or descended, its colors changed to blue, red, and orange. It was a complete shock to me. The object was completely foreign to anything I know about. Its smoothness, maneuverability, and speed were almost beyond belief. All the passengers saw the same things I did. Calderon confirmed what Huneeus had reported, that some of the children on the plane found the encounter to be quite exhilarating. Some boys on the plane had an enjoyable time of it, but the rest of us were baffled and worried. What I and the others saw does not relate to anything known throughout the world. It was a UFO, and one that I cannot explain or understand. This was something really mystifying, and I don't think it can be explained by anyone. Edwin Boris, a radio officer at the Lima control tower, noted, "I was very worried because Captain Samvidi had not contacted us. I could get no communication with him and his plane. Suddenly his voice came over, telling us what was occurring. He said a UFO has been flying around us, watching us. The passengers are frightened. I told him we were ready to receive him at the airport and had emergency equipment, doctors and nurses on hand. But a few minutes after 7:30 the plane landed, and none of the passengers needed medical treatment, although many were shaken up and still trembling. They all told us of seeing the strange UFO. Peruvian Army Colonel Alberto Rosso, a passenger on the plane, also confirmed the details of the incident. All the passengers and crew had plenty of time to see what was going on, and all of us agreed in practically every detail about what we had seen. It was a UFO of unexplained origin. Colonel Rossall and Dean Calderon said that they had asked that investigations be conducted by military authorities and by scientists, but thus far nothing has come of it. Curiously, Colonel Rossall, almost immediately after this, was given an assignment in Europe. Following the incident, despite being witnessed by nearly 60 people, some skeptics honed in on the fact that this was not the first time Sanviti had reported a UFO. In 1953, while flying a small plane about 10 miles from the airport at Barcelona, Venezuela, at around 6 a.m., Sanviti claims that he saw a silver plate-looking object hovering over the control tower. He radioed them, and several of the men on the ground ran outside to see it. Sadly, all they saw was a streak as it suddenly zipped away with an incredible speed. The similarity of the two cases were noted by some looking to discredit the report, though Sanviti himself did not think they compared. For a full hour, 59 of us watched that UFO, and what we saw was unbelievable. For nearly 200 miles it followed us, all the time doing the strangest and most fantastic maneuvers, and then it disappeared almost with the speed of light. One instant it was here and then it was gone. The same thing occurred when it came back with the second one, although at that time we only had a few moments to observe them. All the passengers and crew aboard that plane that night were convinced that the UFO was something that was not explainable by ordinary means.
Huneeus said that there were no other cameras on the plane. Apparently this was incorrect because there were people who did have cameras and they did photograph this object. The problem is that when the plane landed at the airport, apparently there were some men there in official capacity who confiscated the footage and took their cameras. I don't know how, but apparently there at least one image did get leaked to the public. I don't know if somebody just hid their camera or what, but
In the April 1982 issue of the French UFO newsletter Le Mur dans la Nuit, they believe that Sanviti's sinister-sounding claim that they are, quote, watching us, might have been his own interpretation of their intentions, and not the reality of the situation. They liken the behavior of the UFOs to that of dolphins at sea encountering a boat. Dolphins sometimes accompany ships or boats, and who, like it, jump, dive, pass right, left, and give up after a certain time. They give the impression that the ship is, for them, the opportunity to play. Of course, they see the boat, but can we say that they, quote, observe something or someone? Given that the UFOs did indeed seem to react to Sanviti's notification to the tower to get the cameras ready, suggests that they were, at the very least, tuned into what was happening inside Sanviti's aircraft. It is also interesting to think that the pilots of these strange objects might very well be listening in on our radio transmissions. I think the Faucett Airlines DC-4 incident, as it has become known in UFO circles, is an important case. Rarely do you have so many witnesses of high standing going to come forward on the record about what they saw. As well, many were willing to concede that their early notions of UFOs as something to be mocked were proven wrong. Dean of Engineering George Calderon summed up his feelings on the matter by saying, "Anyone who went on that flight not believing in UFOs came off it with an entirely different viewpoint. All I can say now is, I believe in them."